afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. I am very, very pleased you are all here with me today. We've got a wonderful show in store for you. But first, I have a little bit of announcement. I'm truly honored, pleased, humbled, and joyful to have been asked to become the executive director of the Evolutionary Business Council. And it is truly an amazing announcement. We just announced it to the membership yesterday. There is some change of the organization in terms of ownership and leadership. And I was asked if I would be willing to step in and run it, which I'm so pleased to do. So many of you know I've had many guests from the Evolutionary Business Council on my show over the years. I've been a member for probably 6, 7, 8 years, 9 years. I think I'm the last founding member who joined as a founding member. And so to be asked to run the organization was a big thrill for me. And you'll hear more about that in the future. Right now, for the next couple of months, we're going to be going through a huge transition phase. And once we get through this transition and we have some systems in place and stuff, I'll start talking about that more. Anyway, welcome to today's show. I am really thrilled and happy to get us started. But first, of course, we have our little section from my book, Everyday Awakening, which, of course, you can find at everydayawakeningbook.com. And let's get into it, because this is kind of a long one. I haven't had a long section like this in a while. And this section is entitled, How We Feel About Life Depends Upon the Projections We Send Out. This is an important one. We see things in life all the time that we are sure are real. How someone says something to us and the meaning behind it seems clear to us. Our memories are also filled with moments that we are certain happened a specific way. And it's true, all these life experiences actually happened. Yet our memories of them are filled with our own mental projections. What our friend did was done, quote, because they don't like us, quote. What our partner said was said, quote, because they're mad at us, quote. Why our parents acted as they acted, quote, because they are not proud of us, quote. We constantly think we know what is going on inside someone else's mind. Yet what we are doing is projecting our own feelings and interpretations onto our experience. Perhaps our friend was just in a rush and forgot to be polite. Perhaps our partner got some bad news we don't know about and they are mad about it. Perhaps our parents just learned that a friend of theirs died and they're upset over it. How we interpret the world around us has less to do with the actual events and more about how we feel about ourselves. Do we feel deep inside that we're not good enough? Do the things we experience make us feel less than? Do we feel that there's something wrong with us? Do our relationships trigger those feelings? Do we feel that we don't deserve good things? Do we often feel that the other person is taking advantage of us? It's not so cut and dry. Our perspective and self-image have a lot to do with it. Perhaps when we get triggered, we can use this feeling as an opportunity to look inside ourselves. Perhaps when we feel someone is against us, we can check in and see if we are battling with ourselves. Perhaps instead of assuming it's always about the other person, we can take a step back and look for the thoughts and feelings we are projecting onto them and claim them as our own. As we begin to recognize the projections we put on others, we realize that there is so much we are making up ourselves. As we learn to drop those projections, we see a clearer picture of what and who is before us. Can you begin to recognize some of your own projections? So I wrote this section back probably shortly after I started doing the ceremonial work that I do. Because although this concept of projections, this isn't anything new. I mean, this is something I've known about for a while, but somehow it just really struck me. I guess maybe my experience in the ceremony really hit me in a deeper way. But I just so got to see in my own life how much the stories I make up, the reasons why I believe things happened. I mean, going from like things that happened 5, 10 years ago to things that happened when I was a little child, how much of that is really all about what I was feeling about myself and projecting onto the situation, not really about the situation itself. And that when you really get to know the real truth of things and stop assuming we know why everyone did everything, and stop assuming that we know other people's motivations and what they're thinking, what they're feeling, when we can pull ourselves back from that and just look at it for what it is and stop making up these stories about us, it so shifts our life and so shifts how we feel about life and what's going on and the interpretations we make from them. And so I wrote this section to kind of express, I guess, what I had learned about myself and projections. And I hope that this can help people in some way to see that we are the creators of our life. And one of the ways in which we create our life is through the projections we put onto other people. And that those projections are often not so much about the other person, but about how we're feeling in the moment. And it's something that I feel the more conscious we are, the more mindful we are, the more we can at least consider the possibility that maybe we're projecting something onto someone, that can be the first step to being more awake, more aware, more conscious in our own life. So I don't know if this resonates with you or not, but my request, my invitation for this coming week is to just stop and notice, when are you projecting onto someone else what they must be feeling, thinking, why they're doing something, what are their motivations. Just notice when we do that and take a step back and ask ourselves, is that really true? And how do we know? And just by being aware and asking those questions, perhaps, just maybe, we might notice something a little different. So that's my invitation for you this week. I hope you can indulge me by trying that, and let me know on next week's show how you do. And again, so this was the section from my book, Everyday Awakening. The section is called How We Feel About Life Depends on the Projections We Send Out. And if you like that and you'd like to read more of my writings, my book, Everyday Awakening, it's available on Amazon. It's available in all major bookstores. If you go to everydayawakeningbook.com, it'll take you right to the Amazon listing. But if you're like me and you like to support the small independent bookstores, just go in and ask them to order it for you if they don't have it in stock, because we're in a major distributor, so all these bookstores can get it. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for indulging me. And now it is my extreme pleasure to welcome to the show CEO, founder, and healer, Maria Marshall. Maria is the CEO and founder of Gaia Goddess, a women's eco community for all ages. Maria is a conscious creative who utilizes social entrepreneurism, storytelling, and community building. I love community builders, to inspire, heal, and empower women. Additionally, Maria has worked as a holistic volunteer and gifts Reiki and Reiki training to the disadvantaged. Maria also has a strong background in the visual arts and was educated at FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology, and Parsons School of Design. Welcome to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Maria.
Sam, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And I also want to congratulate you, because in our last conversation, you recommended the Evolutionary Business Council, and the fact that you've just been appointed is just kind of mind-blowing. So that's a wonderful accomplishment. And I can tell you're so thrilled and proud, and I'm so happy for you. I also really loved the excerpt from your book that you shared. I started delving into consciousness with Access Consciousness years before my kind of real awakening, let's say. And I'm such a big believer in question creates awareness. And, you know, we create our lives with our own stories that we tell ourselves. And so we have the power to shape our reality. And I'm as guilty as the next person. Yesterday, I had some kind of disappointing news, and it triggered very deep grief. And sometimes your life will use a circumstance to bring up an energy that you no longer serves you, that you need to let go so you can hold more light and love in your heart. And I had to process that yesterday. And this morning I did some breath work around grief. And you, I think, practice some shamanistic practices, or have I know they have some wonderful grief rituals. So I love that you also are. I love shamanism. So I love that you're also well-versed in that, those beautiful modalities that reconnect us to our planet and the wisdom of the earth. And that's part of what Gaia Goddess is bringing to the world as well through the healing, is to reconnect the women to themselves and to the Yes, and we just finished our Maui retreat, which was extraordinary.
Wonderful.
Wonderful,
Wonderful. So, Maria, I want to take our first break because when we come back, I want to kind of dive into your background a little bit, because I always like to give my audience some context of why you ended up doing and how you ended up coming to be doing what you're doing today. So I'd love to kind of just a thumbnail sketch of, like, how did you go from being sort of a visual arts major in college and doing all that stuff to starting a woman's eco community and doing these wonderful retreats? Okay.
Sounds great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you for the kind words about the being appointed to the Evolutionary Business Council. It's definitely a thrill, and it's something I never imagined when I first joined the organization, because they're just such successful, amazing, truly transformational leaders in the organization that I never considered myself of their caliber. So it's really quite an honor. So anyway, everyone, please stay tuned. You are listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, and we will be right back with our guest, Maria Marshall, in just a moment. And a quick shout out happy Passover, happy Easter, and spring equinox, all that wonderful good stuff that's happening right now. It's a full moon last night. And we will be right back in just a moment.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you on edge? Hey, we live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs each Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and perspectives about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. That's The Edge of Every Day on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Welcome back to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We're speaking this hour with Maria Marshall, founder of Gaia Goddess. And so, Maria, you obviously you're a New Yorker like myself. You went to FIT and Parsons. So how did you go from being sort of someone focused on the visual arts, and I'm assuming you were a graphic designer of some kind or commercial artist. How did you go from that to doing this amazing work with women today?
Well, before I went to FIT, I was at Emerson, a musical theater major. And I studied that as a child. Every Saturday I was in plays and singing lessons, and I loved being on the stage. And it was funny, at one point, I guess after I left my marriage of 26 years and my life in Florida and came to New York. And I said, gee, I've had so many detours along the road, musical theater. I still love it. And I write, the visual arts, interior design. And yes, I've always loved fashion as a form of expression and the visual arts. And then I remember hearing a quote from Paul Selig's guide that said, nothing you do and no experience you ever have, no matter how painful, is wasted. Every bit of it is like in a compost pile. It gets used. And even painful traumas from your past that you could feel victimized from, or you could say, wow, look what this led me to create. So that's part of the answer to the question is, I had all of these educational experiences, but I know I'm doing fashion down the road. I know that the visual Parsons, the balance, the symmetry helped me create my brand, my colors, my pitch decks. I know that everything I learned, including, musical theater, I love to be on a stage. I love to talk. I love to express. I love energy, right? When you're on a stage, you're actually drawing the audience's energy to you. If you're a good performer. Right. They can't take their eyes off you. So I realized it was all part and parcel of the preparation for this business, which I believe is my spiritual mission. I went through a very disempowered childhood. And like you said, the projections of what did it mean to have a father that was abusive? Oh, he must not have loved me, was what the child thought. So my inner child never felt loved or worthy of love. How can you manifest anything in this world if you don't feel worthy of love?
Right.
And you know how, when we talk about self-love, well, you can't really get there until you've healed everything that stands in the way of that, including programming, including commercials, Vogue magazine. You're not a worthy woman if you don't look like this.
Right.
So I had to literally go back from the time I left a man I loved and a family unit that meant the world to me and was the replacement for the unit that I lost when my dad died and I was 7. I had to walk away from, and it scared me to be like leaving something that I felt anchored me in this world because of all the trauma I had in my childhood. And I had to unravel, and I had to reprogram, and I had to dig every piece of that up. And yes, I worked with shamans. I am a Reiki master. I work with sound and color vibration. I study spiritual teachers. When my mother died was my awakening, and I literally dove into deep end of the pool. I don't even think I had my arms out in this case. I just dove in. And Edgar Casey, I was looking for signs of life after death even. I just needed
so was that the incident, your mom dying? Was that what kind of brought you to kind of consider all this spiritual stuff, or was it something that you'd always had an interest? Oh, okay.
You know what? As a child, I had this existential loneliness, deep sadness, and feeling I didn't belong on this planet. So when I would see a show on aliens or something, like I always jump out of my seat. And I always was like, Mom, what happens when we die? And she never gave me a satisfactory answer. And certainly religion, my faith did not feel, I'm Greek Orthodox. I didn't feel like religion held the answers for me, because why would God allow this to happen to me? Why would God let a little girl go through this? So I was enraged. And so prior to her death, I started working with Access Consciousness tools, which are super, a great foundation. And I still work with them today, and I give them to other people, but I have an arsenal, right, of an integrative practice, let's say. But my mother's death, I think, certainly put the fire under me, because there was so much unresolved trauma between us.
Right.
And not expressed. I didn't get to heal. So then she died. And I loved her so much, and it felt like such a gaping hole in my soul. And it's what started me. Yeah, it's what really got it moving, let's just say.
But you had already been, so you're kind of like me, where you were brought up in a certain religion, but you didn't really feel the spirit. You didn't really feel it in the religion. So then you started, I guess, being open to other things. And I know for myself, like I had a number of experiences when I was in high school and college that kind of opened me up to the idea that this physical reality is not all there is. Like there are a lot of unexplainable things going on in this world. And that's what kind of opened me up to it. So was it with yourself, was it more like just kind of a gradual curiosity of you kept finding things here and there? Or was there a particular incident that made you go, oh, there's really something weird going on here?
Oh, I will. I mean, I'll say my mother's death made me so hungry for information on near-death experiences. I wanted proof. It made no sense to me as a child and no sense as an adult that we would come, live, and then cease to exist. Makes no sense, right? And that was cruelty to me to even fathom that reality. So, I know religion offers another, another idea around it, but also it also offers judgment and things that I couldn't buy into in my faith. So I was in between a crossroads. But what did make sense to me was that we come, we choose, we create. We are powerful. Like that makes sense to me. So I started looking for the information, Edgar Casey, Ruth Montgomery, near-death experiences, communicators with the angelic realms, whatever felt it felt like chicken soup for my soul after my mother passed, that these things all soothed me. They soothed me because there was a little girl and a woman that had been through so much that I could have come unraveled, really, if I didn't seek for myself the healing that I needed at that moment.
Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of so curious to me because so many people that I bring onto my show, there's some kind of inner calling, like there's some event usually that happens that it is challenging, is difficult to get through. It can be painful, it can be traumatic, but somehow that there are seeds in that event that bring us to look for answers in places that we wouldn't normally look otherwise. And that opens us up to like a whole new world, almost a whole new universe of possibilities of what could be. And that often brings us back to ourselves, doesn't it? It brings us back to that place of looking at what is our part in all of this, and the recognition that we are so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for, or that society even gives the individual credit for.
Right. And we have to ask, why is that?
Yes. Well, and if you have any kind of a anthropology or sociological kind of education, you know how much of this stuff all comes from survival. And it's so ancient, it's so old, from when we were hunter-gatherers wandering on the plains, and that we had to work together as a cohesive group just to survive. Yet we're not wandering on the plains anymore. We're not in that situation anymore, but our nervous system still acts like we're there. And so it's a process of sort of civilizing ourselves, bringing ourselves up into the modern era of where we are, and not just acting instinctually that that we have to do all these things just to survive. So I want to then ask you kind of what got you to start Gaia Goddess, but we have a break in like a minute, so I'd rather go to break first. We'll go out a little early, and then when we come back, I want you to tell our audience, like, what was the inspiration? What was the vision that you had that got you to start Gaia Goddess? And then what is it all about? How does it serve people? How does it serve women? And what is your vision for it? Okay?
Sounds great.
Wonderful. And I see loyal listener Patty checking in, probably from Tucson, unless she's traveling. So thank you, Patty. I see you on the Facebook Live. Let us know if you have any questions or comments. And we will be right back with Maria Marshall in just a moment.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will be Frank About Health to advocate for all of us.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We're speaking this hour with Maria Marshall, founder of Gaia Goddess. So, Maria, after the death of your mom, you went on this spiritual quest, almost we'll call it, where you really dove into the deep end of the pool. How did that lead you to starting this community of Gaia Goddess?
Well, what happened was shortly after my mother's passing, with all of the study that I was doing and healing work, I had to leave a relationship of a marriage of 26 years. And I realized I didn't know when I was married how much of that marriage I had chosen disempowerment. As I say, I had chosen, I may not have realized where I was giving up my power, but I certainly was. And where I was living a small existence, and where I had lack of self-worth, and where I was even unable to dream big dreams for fear of failure. And where did all that come from? As you talk about the pain and the trauma of the childhood, the inner child is where it begins. We don't have the cognitive skills to say, oh, is this really true? Am I projecting? Or is it my fault my parents are divorcing? The 5-year-old who hears their parents fighting thinks it's their fault. So whatever trauma I went through, and it was substantial, abuse and I like all kinds of women's trauma that can be lead to choosing to be disempowered because you're not in your worth. And you don't know your power. And so you just choose a safe existence to stay safe because the child will do whatever it can to stay safe. That includes not set boundaries. Right. That includes not speak their truth. That includes, not making demands that they know that they are entitled to because of the conditioning of, if I do this, I won't be safe. So all of that had to be unraveled. And honestly, some of it started before I left. There were conditions of my marriage that just felt unsafe when I started to look, when I started to see how I would have to live a limited existence for the rest of my life to stay and maintain that relationship. So I wasn't choosing for me. And I wasn't an empowered woman chooses for herself. She chooses to love herself and she chooses to fill her cup. Because she knows in doing so, she shows up as a light in the world that affects others and inspires others. But not only that, if she has children, she's energetically connected to her children throughout her life. Any healing she does, any upgrade she gets, any work she does on transforming her story or the ancestral lineage is automatically transferred to her kids. So if you're one of those moms, it's all about your kids, that's enough of a reason to work on yourself. I saw all of the ways I had to work on myself. I saw all of the ways that women are not supported through transition. I went through a transition, through financial literacy, also in business. Women are not supported the way men are in business. And in a world that needs to change, as you know, how can a world change if 90% of the businesses are owned by men? And I think it's more than that. And if, all of these women are now having these women in business meetings. My friend just hosted one in Miami, my dear friend, Daisy Canoves, women are talking about, we need to start our own businesses, run our own businesses, and also support women mothers. The legislation needs to happen. So I saw Gaia Goddess as a platform, and I would call it a movement, but also a community to support all of women in all of the stages of being a woman, because, I'm a feminist, but not to make the masculine wrong, because everything's a choice. You can't victimize yourself because then you stick yourself in that story. Right. So what I choose to say is we as women have allowed ourselves and chosen disempowerment through thousands of years. Still, the scales are not balanced. So if we want this world to be healthy, if we want humanity to be balanced and healthy, if we want a better future for our children, how do we do that? And there's a lot of areas that we need to support women in business, women in transition, and women in healing. And women's empowerment means all of that. It means, do you love yourself? Okay, you don't. I just was speaking to somebody who said they were in it was an Emmy television award producer who wants to do a TV documentary series on Gaia Goddess this summer. She said, I was in spiritual psychology college, and the professor asked an auditorium of 300 women, how many women love themselves? 2 hands went up. Because saying an affirmation, I am worthy, is just the beginning.
Yeah.
It plants the seeds and the universe starts listening. But what else has to happen for you to really align is you have to go to every layer where the onions, right? The grief, the not feeling loved, the feeling shame, the feeling non-forgiveness of yourself for choosing so much pain. I had so much non-forgiveness. I find it easier to forgive other people than myself. Right. And I was like, why did I choose this? This is so painful. Right. What happened to me as a little girl? Oh my God, I'm just days and days and days of releasing. They say dark night of the soul. I just hosted a retreat where one of the women was like, I have 12 years of dark night of the soul and I'm a healer. And I wanted to know why I was coming here. And, there was like massive releases coming from the massage hut. She's still releasing. Wow. So what a journey, right? That we're all on. And I want to support women on that journey because most of our society doesn't know even what you just mentioned today about projections.
Right.
Basic.
Right.
That can change your mood and your reality and your life.
Yeah, and just how you feel about yourself, right?
Exactly.
Because when you come from a place of, okay, I'm creating this, even if it's uncomfortable, you've put yourself in a creator, you're in a much more powerful position than if you say, oh, why is this happening to me? One of my teachers, Jennifer Huff, always uses the phrase, life happens for us, not to us. And just that little shift, that one word shift makes a huge, huge difference.
Yeah. And even if it looks like something not fun, right? Even if it's something painful, I believe everything painful, everything traumatic I chose it. I had to have had that experience. And I still am transmuting shadow. And I still am dealing with grief. But every time I release that, more light, more power, more love comes to me. And I believe that translates to my business as well. I feel like I'm connected to my business. So what I do for me happens for the business as well. Right. And I saw that clearly in Maui with these amazing women that came together, and the sense of like, oh, I never felt comfortable around women. In California, it's very competitive amongst women, and here I made friends. I lowered my barriers. I was comfortable in my vulnerability. I could cry next to another woman and not, have to be the strong, amazing healer. Like healers need healing too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's the old phrase of like, it's the people who go into the healing professions are the one who need the most healing. and also just one thing I wanted to say is what you were talking about before, about how when you work with women, you change like the whole society. Like it's an old adage that if you want to raise up a village, you have to first educate the women. Because if you educate the men, they're off doing things. They're not really passing on to the children what they've learned as much. But the women who are raising the children, when you educate the women and empower the women, then the children become more empowered. And then you raise up the whole village, not just the woman.
Yeah. And also the fact that we are collectively connected, right?
Yes,
we feel that during the pandemic in New York City, the fear was palpable. I couldn't be in my apartment. I had to go out to the country because it was so dense for me, and I'm very empathic and sensitive. But also, when you love yourself, you are connected to the oneness. So if you're working on you, you're doing the best job you can for everybody else. It's just by working on you. And if everybody took the time and had the awareness, you know, part of it is understanding that there's something to work on. How much of pain and trauma is repressed in our childhood?
Absolutely.
I didn't see a lot of it until the pandemic. I was so enraged at God most of my life. I did. And I call God, goddess, creator, source, consciousness. That's, for me, it's all in the same. But I was so enraged as a child. I never prayed and I never asked for help. But I started writing, and in the pandemic, I started saying, you know, I need to see. Please show me. And one by one, they started coming, these memories, these feelings started coming up. To be revealed, to be felt. Yes, sadness thing, to feel it, you got to feel it. So, you know, you do have to feel it, but then you get to let it go if you choose. Right. And if it's in alignment with your highest good.
Right,
you know?
Right. Yeah, it's always our choice. And oftentimes we kind of avoid feeling these things because we think like, oh my God, if I open the floodgates, it's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be too much. But we actually don't have to make it too much. We can throttle back the valve and experience it and process what we're able to in the moment. And that's kind of part of the work that I do when I work with people. It's like, okay, let's go as far as we can go, but not to a point where it's overwhelming your nervous system.
Yeah. And I've always felt that my higher self plans my releases perfectly. So if I have a flight or I have an interview on TV, I'm not going to have that release then.
Yeah.
My higher self's like, she's got like a 2-hour window before her next Zoom call. We're going to have all her chakras shut down. She's going to feel terrible and she's going to go in her room and do breath work. And that's exactly what happens. I want to say, you know, off and on, but sometimes every day of my week. And then it might be 5-day break, but you know, we have active stages and then we can have little breaks and not making ourselves wrong, you know, knowing it's what is the golden, you know, what is the rainbow at the end? You know, what is the nugget? What's the incentive to going on that journey and to embark on it? You know, and sometimes our souls will tap us on the shoulder to get us to wake up, and it gets louder if we ignore it.
And that tap turns into a 2x4 up the side of the head if you don't listen to it. So I would love to hear a little bit more about like what actually happens on these retreats, but we got to take our last break of the show. And when we come back, let's just dive into a little bit more about, you know, what are these retreats like? You know, why would a woman be interested in coming to one of these retreats? And then we'll close off. You'll give out your information of how people can find out more. Okay, Maria?
Sounds perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So everyone, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We do this every Thursday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on talkradio.nyc, and 10 a.m. on Wednesdays at KMET in Palm Springs, California. And we will be right back to finish up with Maria Marshall in just a moment.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will be Frank About Health to advocate for all of us.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
And welcome back. Okay, Maria. So you mentioned like you just came back from a retreat in Maui, and this is what you do with Gaia Goddess, right? I mean, this is you bring women together to have an experience. What happens at these retreats? Why, if I was a woman, why would I be interested in coming to one of these?
Well, thank you for the question. And I just also like to clarify that in addition to retreats, there would be one-day events. We offer a virtual sanctuary for a free membership. The next one is on conscious dating and relationships, which should be fantastic with Dr. Tranquility. So in addition to classes and courses and supportive groups supporting mothers or women in transition, we do have retreats, and the in-person experiences are very important. You can get to a lot online, as you know, but you know how important feeling the energy around you. So Maui was magical. We had a lot of very conscious beings there, people that had understood breath work and understood some of the modalities we were using. They had 5 days of movement, yoga, restorative practices for the body to calm the nervous system. We offered a beautiful cacao ceremony. As you know, cacao is a heart opener, also has all of these, serotonin and, cardiovascular benefits. So it's really great, but set with intention in the ceremony, as you're very used to doing with shamanism. People can open their hearts and ask to have more love, but also ask to release pain. Say somebody just passed, grief, unresolved things that we stuff in our bodies, things that we hold on, are blockages to our energetic system. So we had that. We had amazing hula hoop class, which was fun and got us connected to our inner child, taught by Lindsay, who was a Rockette for 16 years. And it was so fun. I don't think I ever did a hula hoop in my life, but it was also important for women to move their hips. We have to move our hips. We have to do hip circles. So for Greece, we're probably going to do a belly dancing class. So there's a way to make it fun. There's a way to talk about intuition and how do we use it. We had an intuition class. We had, we did, gua sha. One of the practitioners has this amazing gua sha practice and tools. And one night we were all in our robes and we just went into the tension points in our face. And we worked on one side first and then looked at the other and we're like, oh my God, it's totally different. The left side of my face. I got to get the other side looking like this. And my friend woke up in the morning and her face swelling went down. We had people Reiki circle, and I sang and used an instrument, and I felt the spirits of Maui, and one of them even saw and got a message: you are all protected and welcome, and thank you for coming. It was like we were almost reading it felt like the energy even elevated. And Lumeria has crystals all around, and the plants. I mean, the vibration, the vortex is definitely a great spot for healing. So the idea of the retreats is to take women to places where are fun to go to. Greece is the next. It's gorgeous. People love Greece in the summer in July. Our date's July 20th to 25th. We can't wait. The owners of the retreat center are also healers. They're going to be talking about the goddess energy, the Greek goddess energy, and it's just really interesting to combine education tools with healing modalities. And also a takeaway, there's an integration that happens afterwards. So we want to support women when they come on these retreats. Check back in with us. And there aren't any companies that are doing this. What are you doing? How have you integrated, like making offerings to Gaia? For supporting us, we gave back. We offer prayer. We did a womb ceremony by the ocean and went into the ocean afterwards and had, roses and used the petals. And like, it was so beautiful. If you went on our Instagram, Gaia Goddess Lifestyle, many of the women that came posted reels recapping, and with such amazing things. They all had incredible experiences. It superseded my expectations. I knew it would be amazing. I'm blown away. Honestly, I'm blown away. And that's why I know that this work is so needed and so supported, because of what just happened. That was truly magical.
Wonderful.
So anybody considering Greece should check out the Maui retreat on our Instagram, because they'll get the energy of what we did. And they'll see if it's for them or not.
Wonderful. And I'm so glad you mentioned integration, because that's kind of a big deal in my world at the moment. I'm actually in the process of doing some market research and in creating an integration program for people who engage in psychedelic work. And it just, and it's so appropriate, not just for psychedelics, but for like anyone who does deep transformational work. You have this tremendous experience, but okay, now how are you integrating that into your day-to-day life? Because that's where the real gold is, isn't it?
Yes. And also it can be very unsettling. So I love that you're talking about this. I mean, I've done some of that work myself, and even in my own breath work with grief, like I feel really shaken. And I sometimes want to break, I want to just a time out. Okay. Can I just focus on my energies for a moment and then go back in? So guidance in that area, I think, is very, very important. And I don't know how many people are actually guiding people so that they're not in a state of overwhelm where too much comes up. I mean, I do believe our higher selves don't give us more than we can handle, but maybe it's not true. Maybe people have gotten themselves into a sticky situation because they've taken on too much at once, especially through the the whatever kind of
the compounds. Yeah, because again, we do have free will, and if we choose to overdo it, then we'll get the results of what it means to overdo it, no matter what that means, no matter what we're overdoing. It can happen in life, and sort of normal stuff can happen with healing, energy work, psychedelics, anything.
Yeah, people get depressed, right? And why do they get depressed? And people become addicts because it's too much energy for them to handle, and so they want to numb it down.
Right.
So exactly. I think you're right on point there.
Wonderful. So if people want to learn more about Gaia Goddess, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the website? How would people find you? How do they learn more about all this?
Yes. Well, our website is very well developed. It's Gaia Goddess Lifestyle. Our Instagram is Gaia Goddess Lifestyle. We post on LinkedIn. We post on TikTok, on Instagram. A lot of the information on our grid about virtual sanctuaries coming up. Also, we offer a free membership. And along with that free membership is a very large content library of podcasts, of free self-love meditations that I recorded one, and when I listened to it, I cried. So I know that if I can listen to something and it touches my heart and something I did, it works. And this is free. I always want to have something for everybody. And even a woman that doesn't have $1 to spend, because I worked with the homeless for 5 years, and I know they're limited resources, and everybody deserves information, education, healing, respect, and self-love. Every human on the planet deserves that. So I will always endeavor to supply experiences to those that maybe can't afford it, and, to give funds to the underserved and so on and so forth. One way I can start that is through the free membership. But it's available now. And it comes with a lot of information, a lot of interesting conversations we've had on podcasts, and beautiful newsletters and blogs and recipes. So it's up, it's running, and we'll be announcing when we do events here in New York. We're going to be doing one-day events. I even spoke to an investor about something for one of his adult children that don't have 5 days, and their friends that are mothers at work, to go to Greece. But could we do a 1-day healing journey? And you absolutely can. Yep. You can get a lot done in 1 day, or just one experience. So we will be creating those experiences, and we're stacking content for a paid subscription of weekly wellness that will support women with yoga, movement, breath, astrology, the different things to tap into, because I feel that having a regular practice of supportive weekly with a community you trust and know has your back, and that you can tap into and even communicate with, is something I don't think exists right now. And it can only grow out from there. I see it one day being around the world. And we just launched November 2nd. So it's
still relatively new.
Relatively new.
I just want to thank you. We're kind of out of time, but thank you for the work that you're doing. I appreciate it, and that I know women do need so much support, and I'm glad that there's a resource out there like Gaia Goddess Lifestyle for them. So thank you, Maria. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the show. I appreciate it. Let's be in touch. And of course, thank you, my loyal listeners, for tuning in every week. Patty, I see sending some hearts and flowers out for you, Maria. And thank you for tuning in week after week. Without you, there is no show. And if you missed any part of today's show, remember, you can always catch the replay on talkradio.nyc. You can go to the Talking Alternative YouTube channel to get the video. And we're on all the major podcasting platforms: Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. Wherever there are podcasts, you should be able to find the Conscious Consultant Hour. And if you can't, let me know, and I will get us there. Thank you all for tuning in today. We will talk to you all next week. Take care.
Thank you.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business, or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you on edge? Hey, we live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs each Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and perspectives about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. That's The Edge of Every Day on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will be Frank About Health to advocate for all of us.
Passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.